And now, Good Mic Work Commentaries and Greg Morgan presents the Winged Eagle Podcast.
Happy Saturday, y'all. What is going on? Welcome to your Winged Eagle Podcast for December 16th, 2023. And we got a big one today, y'all. A big old girthy one. So much to get into. So much wrestling news. So much CM Punk. So much, what are we going to do for the next 2 weeks before the end of the year? A lot of Raw, SmackDown, Dynamite, results, Warner Brothers Discovery, WWE speculation, Mercedes Moné, Kenny Omega, Charlotte. All sorts of stuff to get into today. I think it's going to be a pretty fun podcast. Happy weekend to you guys. Sorry, this has been my first live video since Sunday's watch-along last week. I had family obligations this past Monday, so we were not here for a Raw review, but we're here now, and you're going to see a lot of me between now and the end of the year, including the next 3 days in a row. Tonight, tomorrow's watch-along, and Monday night, we will be here for a Raw review, so get ready for a whole lot of my bald head. But today, we have got just an endless amount of wrestling news to get into, it seems like, and a lot of speculation, a lot of that juicy speculation that we like to do here on Saturdays. And a lot of it, again, as usual, for the better part of a year and a half now, is going to be surrounding and centered around CM Punk. Not only are we going to get into what Punk has been doing since been back in WWE, what his future plans might be, how much he really seems to love being there, his time spent in the PC and NXT already, and what his Royal Rumble and WrestleMania plans are going to be after we saw that fantastic promo that I'm so upset that I missed on Monday night between Seth Rollins and CM Punk, really laying the groundwork for what we're going to see here in WrestleMania season, and it's exciting as hell. So today should be a fun one. Really looking forward to getting into everything, but since Collision goes live in just 2 hours, I wanted to get up here and get moving here as quickly as possible so we don't run out of time, and Collision starts airing when we're still doing stuff here on this podcast. So we're going to talk about a lot of stuff today. So just hang tight. Oh yeah, and we're going to talk about Liv Morgan's arrest apparently yesterday or the day before in Florida. So we've got some stuff to get into today. It should be a fun episode, jam-packed with lots of goodies. So welcome. Thank you for being here. And I'll do some shout outs here in the chat real quick, and then we'll get moving in just a couple of minutes. You guys know the drill, know what to do. Please do me a favor and smash that thumbs up button for me. Please subscribe if you are not yet a subscriber. We just passed 40,000 subscribers on the channel not long ago. Next target will be 50K, but I need y'all's help to get there. And we've got memberships open. We have super chats open, all that stuff. I'll get to all the super chats today as we go through. Do some shout outs here briefly and let you know what you guys can expect from me in the next couple of weeks on the channel. The channel right now has a ton of links already up, and I will tell you about those in just a moment. Let me just turn this fan down here. All right, well, good to see everybody who is here, like our channel members, the Juliet, and my friend Amato, who's in the house. One of our watch-alongs this month is courtesy of Amato. He is the one that suggested this one. Hey, Greg, no work for me today. Nice, edible taken, making a big sandwich for the stream and ordered cookies for delivery. Tell Elizabeth I send my love and pet Tito for me. Let's have an awesome stream today. Sounds good to me, man. Tito is, oh, he's behind me on the couch there. You guys can't see him, but I cannot reach him to pet him. I love that you're making a big sandwich. Reminds me of Wings. You know, Seinfeld had the big salad. Wings had the big sandwich. Fun stuff there in Nantucket. But good to hear from you, as always, Amato. And incidentally, today is the 1 year anniversary of me losing Bub. Lost him 1 year ago today. So thank you to everyone who showed me your support last year. It's been a year without my best friend, so it's been rough. But a year has gone by, and it's kind of crazy that it's been that long already. But yeah, that's life, though. Jimmy Anderson, always happy to see you. Thank you so much for that super chat. Thank you so much for that super chat, and greetings from all the way across the pond. Always good to see you in here. We got Max Pokebra. We got Stone Cold. We got Ian Dunn, new channel member, chiming in. Good to see you, my friend. Zach Palgett is in the house as well, along with K-Dogs Kennel, 16-month brother. Cheers to another month. More likely scenario, Punk winning the Rumble versus Rollins. Punk winning the Rumble versus Rollins, Armania, or Cody winning facing Roman. I think I know what you're saying there. And we're going to be getting into a lot of that. But yeah, I feel like Punk winning the Rumble would almost be more fun than Cody winning. Cody winning, I've been talking about this all year, haven't I? I've been talking about this since this year's WrestleMania after Cody lost. I'm like, if they're going to do the same thing again, isn't Cody winning the Rumble and going on to beating Roman at Mania kind of predictable? And now with Punk coming back, it can really help, I think, change some of that predictability and make it a much more fun ride into WrestleMania. And I got a ton of ideas, but I do think Punk winning the Rumble would make sense. And then Cody maybe having to scramble to finish his story, because if Cody doesn't win the Rumble and he's on Raw, how the hell does he get to SmackDown to challenge Roman? He could win the Elimination Chamber, right? But as I've been saying for a year, at least a year, I said whoever wins the Royal Rumble is going to challenge Roman Reigns, because there would be no reason to challenge for the other title, you would think, because Roman is that's the bigger prize. He's held the title for so long. He's the night 2 main event. If you are a pro wrestler, isn't that what you would want to target? The only thing that would make you potentially not want to target Roman Reigns is if you just so happen to despise the current world heavyweight champion, or you have a very good reason as to go after the world heavyweight champion as opposed to Roman Reigns. And if CM Punk and Seth Rollins begin this heated feud like it looks like they're about to, Punk wins the Rumble, that sets up a situation where Punk can say, I challenge you, Seth, and it makes sense. Because if just any old schmo with no connection to Seth Rollins at all, not any old schmo, but if just another wrestler wins the Rumble and he has nothing going on TV with Seth Rollins, why would he pick Seth Rollins? You would pick Roman. That's the night 2 main event. That would be a more significant win, unless you've got personal reasons to not do that. And I think that's what they're setting up here with Punk and Rollins, giving Punk the reason to justify him challenging Seth if he wins the Rumble. And he said that pretty much to Seth's face in that promo on Monday, which we will talk about. So yeah, Mania is going to be fun, I think, with Punk being included now, because I'm not too worried. I said before Punk came in that I was a little worried about him taking away spots from other people. I feel like this is going to be fun, and I'm not too concerned with that based on what we're seeing so far, but we'll be getting into it. As always, Kevin, thanks for being here. We have Isaac. We have Tata 90. I get you, John Woodmass. That's an awesome name. Happy Saturday, my friend. Good to see Ben Espinoza in here as well. We got JL, Nick Steele, Alessandro. Good to see you. Jay Lambo, William Cullen, Rodrigo Martinez. David Brown is here as well. Good to see everybody here this afternoon. But like I said, I feel like I got so much information in my notes here that I really wanted to kind of get moving here as quickly as possible, because a lot of times I sit here and chatter and chit chat for 20 fucking minutes before we get into anything. But before we get into wrestling news, which is what we're going to open up with here, then we're going to circle back, talk a little bit about Monday Night Raw and last night's SmackDown. Encompassing or included in that conversation will be what I think is going to happen at the Rumble, WrestleMania, Punk, Rollins, Roman, Cody, all that stuff we'll be getting into. Then we will talk a little bit about this past week's Dynamite, Winter is Coming, which had, some good moments and bad moments on that show, but still the Continental Classic is kicking ass. And we have a big Collision preview for tonight as well. And we'll talk a little bit about last night's Ring of Honor final battle, which I didn't see, but I saw a few highlights of, and I just at least want to talk about the results because some pretty cool things happened on that show as well. But before we start with our wrestling news, here's what is on tap for us here at Good Mic Work Commentaries. Really fun watch along tomorrow. We got a big one set up for tomorrow night. Usually what we do is we do watch alongs corresponding whatever month we're in. Last week we did Armageddon 2002, which was really fun. And as I was looking at Starcades and Armageddons and TLCs and things like that take place in December, and we got Royal Rumble coming up in January, I'm like, let's start the Royal Rumbles right now. Let's just start doing some right now. They're more fun. And I went through, saw the ones we've done so far, and decided that tomorrow would be a good day to do Royal Rumble 1993. That one's going to be fun. So we're going to be watching Rumble 93 tomorrow night. The link is already up on the channel right now, so you can cruise over there and save that for tomorrow. And tomorrow will be our final Sunday watch-along of the year, because the next 2 Sundays are Christmas Eve and New Year's Day, and Good Mic Work, or Christmas Eve and New Year's Eve, and Good Mic Work is booked. So I won't be available those nights. But what we're going to do instead is a couple of Wednesday watch-alongs during the holiday season. So this coming Wednesday, December 20th, 2 hours before Dynamite goes live. So this will be 6 Eastern, 3 Pacific. Or I'm sorry, 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. 5 Eastern, 2 Pacific. It's going to be 3 hours before Dynamite goes live. We are going to watch In Your House, number 5, season's beatings from December of 1995. This In Your House has one of my favorite matches of all time on it. Bret the Hitman Hart defending against the British Bulldog in a really bloody match in Hershey, Pennsylvania. So we'll be watching that ahead of Dynamite this Wednesday. Then 1 week later, on Wednesday the 27th, same time before Dynamite, we're going to be watching a classic Monday Night Raw 20th anniversary watch along of Raw from December 29th, 2003. This is headlined by a big Shawn Michaels and Triple H championship match. Unfortunately, we're not going to be doing this on the exact 2-year anniversary because I have a different video plan for that day. But Wednesday, the 27th, we'll be watching Raw. That is a show suggested by Amato, our boy. He was at that show, apparently. I think it's in San Antonio. And the match between Shawn and Hunter is really good. So we'll be watching that Monday Night Raw the following Wednesday after that. Then Friday, December 29th, we're going to be up here for a Friday Winged Eagle podcast and predict AEW World's End. That link is also up. And then on the 30th, December 30th, Saturday night, we're going to be doing a live reaction watch along of AEW World's End, the pay-per-view. We'll hang around. We'll do a review after the show, and it'll be a fun Saturday hangout. And then the next day is New Year's Eve, and I'm going to be working all night. So Saturday, December 30th, World's End watch along and reaction will be our final video of the year until January 1st, which is up in the air. As of right now, I'm going to do probably just a Raw review on New Year's Day. But the January 1st Raw that is going to be headlined by a championship match between Seth Rollins and Drew McIntyre is right here in San Diego. Elizabeth has to work. So as of right now, we're not going to the show. I have no plans to go to the show, but you never know in the next couple of weeks if something happens, we decide to go or whatever. Maybe I could be there, but as of right now, no plans to attend that one, but we will be up here for a review on January 1st, New Year's Day. So that's kind of what's going on the channel right now. If you go to my page right now, you will see all of these links under the latest content playlist right at the top of the page there. So I got busy the other night posting all of these links for the rest of the year. So watch along tomorrow for the Royal Rumble. One link that's not posted is Monday's Raw review. I haven't posted that one yet, but it will be up. But Wednesday's In Your House, watch along the following week, and the World's End stuff is all up on the channel now. So just keep that in mind. Make sure you click those videos, save them, give them a like, and join us for a bunch of fun live streams before the year is over. So that's kind of what's on tap for the menu for the rest of the year. So thank you for sitting through that. Let me knock out this super chat here coming in from our friend Chris Ludek. What's up, man? Appreciate that $5 from you. At that In Your House, I think that Bret Bulldog match is better than their SummerSlam 92 match and possibly Bulldog's best WWE match. I liked the In Your House match better than SummerSlam 92. I did. It was different. It was a little grittier, bloodier. Even though they were in Hershey, they were still basically acknowledging the fact that they kind of have an ECW crowd there. And they took that match, to another level. They learned their lesson when they were in Philly for King of the Ring just a few months before then. And the crowd just shit all over their cartoony nonsense. So the next time they went back to that neck of the woods, they came ready to rock and roll, and Bret and Bulldog put on an awesome match. And it's one that I enjoyed more, to be honest, as well. I'm not sure if every fan thinks that one's better than SummerSlam 92. And I'm not even sure if I think the match itself, like if you just judge the match and the ring work and all that, if it's really better. I just enjoyed the In Your House one more just because it was different. And it was a heel versus babyface match. And, it got a little gnarly, and, there wasn't that little brotherly love hug at the end. So it helped out having Davey Boy be a heel. But we're going to be watching that on December 20th, this coming Wednesday. How about a January 1st Q&A? Well, Amato, if we hang out here and do a Raw review on January 1st, which I'm expecting to, then we can hang out and do a Q&A after the fact. No problem. We'll maybe work on that and see if we can get that pulled together here. All right, let me do a refresh on this chat just so I've got everything in front of me. Right on. Okay, I can see all you guys. We look caught up. Good to see Vash Starwind in 7th season in here as well. And Jaquan, Liv Morgan has had one of the sexiest, prettiest mugshots I've ever seen. I saw a lot of people say that. Liv Morgan got so much props for her mugshot. Girl's gorgeous, just waking up out of bed. I just thought it was funny. Men and women were all complimenting her on how good she looked in her mugshot, which is pretty funny. And we do have some more information on Liv Morgan's arrest, and we're going to get to that in 1 second. But first, I wanted to open up the podcast today, wishing well to two of the best in the business. Kenny Omega and Charlotte Flair both are going to be on the shelf for a little while. Now, Kenny Omega, and I'm going to talk about it here in my Dynamite recap. I was watching him on Dynamite on Wednesday night, and we saw that fucking hideous promo between Big Bill, Ricky Starks, and the Golden Jets, and how bad it was. And it just felt off. Nothing was landing. Nobody felt in sync. Everybody was off key. It was just a clustery fucking fuck mess. I don't even know how to describe it. But one thing I noticed is Kenny Omega's body language, his energy. And I said to myself, in my head anyway, I'm like, he doesn't look right to me. He just looks tired. I didn't know how to describe what the vibe I was getting from him was. It just didn't feel like Kenny Omega. Like maybe he was just like, do I even really want to be doing this Golden Jets shit with Jericho? I even think he accidentally called themselves the Winnipeg Jets, which I think I have done at least 5 times on this podcast alone when referencing those two guys. But I felt like he just had something a little off looking about him. And they wound up setting up their tag team title match for World's End. Bill and Ricky are going to defend, or were going to defend, against Jericho and Kenny Omega. And then I believe it was yesterday. I think I was one of the first people to see it because it just popped up on my timeline like instantly. I think it said 36 seconds on the tweet. Kenny Omega tweeted a picture of himself from the hospital, which said, and I quote, "I can't really sugarcoat this. I'm out indefinitely. I tried to keep pushing past the pain for as long as I could until it became too much. Luckily, doctors caught me when they did. I'll be here. So in the meantime, please enjoy wrestling." Did not offer any information as to what is exactly wrong with him. He just said he was in pain and the doctors got to him in time. Turns out it's diverticulitis, which ain't good. This almost took Brock Lesnar's life. This is a very dangerous condition that can be fatal if not treated properly. And a lot of people have had this and had experience with it. Maybe some of you in the chat have as well. And I've seen a lot of people come out, especially in Kenny's comments, talking about their personal experiences with this and how bad it can be. So Kenny will be okay. I think all indications are that he's going to be fine, but there's going to be a recovery time here. And I think that can kind of vary too, person to person, based on how maybe severe your situation or condition is. But get well, Kenny. He's in the hospital, probably going to be treated for this for several days. We'll keep him in our thoughts and sending all of the best to one of the best. And it sounds like, since he is saying he's out indefinitely, not sure if this is something you can turn around from and be back in 2 weeks to work a pay-per-view match. So I would assume that the match with Starks and Bill is off, even if for some reason, some way, Kenny got himself out of the hospital and good to go by the 30th. Do you really want to rush yourself back for a match like that? Hopefully he can get back in 2024, and get back into the swing of things. And we just wish him well. And I hope everything with his recovery and his treatment for diverticulitis goes as well as possible, because we love Kenny here on this channel and we wish him the best. Love Kenny Omega. Also want to wish the best to Charlotte Flair. Now last night on SmackDown, the announcers announced that Charlotte would be out for 9 months due to that injury that she suffered last week in the match with Asuka when she tumbled off the top rope and apparently injured her knee. It looked pretty legit. Definitely did not look like a work, the way she was selling it, the way she was helped off. But we still didn't really hear exactly what it was. So when you hear that it's a knee injury and you're going to be out 9 months, that usually indicates an ACL or MCL tear, something like that, something that, Seth Rollins went through, or a lot of other wrestlers have had. And a lot of times with reconstructive knee surgery or ligament repair or anything like that in a knee, you're talking 9 to 12 months out of the ring. But they didn't really say what it was. I don't think they mentioned any surgery or anything like that. So I suppose maybe there's this outside chance that this is storyline and Charlotte shows up in the Royal Rumble or something, which would be awesome because that means she's not hurt. But if we're to take WWE at their word, sounds like Charlotte did suffer an injury in that match last week, and she's going to be out for 9 months, which means not only is she going to miss WrestleMania, SummerSlam is in pretty severe jeopardy as well, because SummerSlam is 9 months off. So if this recovery timetable is accurate, that should put her back around SummerSlam, but she might not be ready yet. She might miss 2 huge WWE pay-per-views, 3 actually. Rumble, Mania, and SummerSlam could all be missed by Charlotte, and that's a shame. So we wish the Queen the best in her recovery, and I guess we will see her next year in 2024. Kind of a bummer. Speaking of WWE women, let's talk about my sister, Liv. Liv. Liv got herself in a little bit of trouble the other day in Florida. She was arrested, I believe, on Wednesday because the report came out yesterday, and yesterday's report said she was arrested yesterday. So I believe it was Wednesday. She was arrested in Sumter County, Florida, following a traffic stop. She was arrested for drug possession and marijuana possession. So she had, I guess, a small amount of marijuana in her car, less than 20 grams, and she had something that appeared to be a synthetic cannabis of some kind. Now, that was all she was arrested for. It was a traffic stop, so I think there was a report that she might have crossed over a yellow line or something that prompted the stop, and when the officer smelled the weed, that was the end for her. They got her out, they arrested her, charged her with possession. There was no charge at all for any sort of driving while impaired, DUI, nothing like that. No sobriety issue, because driving while impaired is driving while impaired. It's not driving while under alcohol. It's driving while impaired by anything. You take enough Tylenol and get behind the wheel, you can be charged for a DUI or a DWI, whatever they call it in your particular state. But she wasn't charged with that. She was only charged for possession. So there was no sobriety field test or anything like that. It was just possession. This is fucking Florida, and it's just ridiculous. Now, I think Liv Morgan should just get herself a medical card so she doesn't have to worry about this type of stuff. But it still cracks me up, that she was arrested and photographed, and her name got spread all over the news. WWE star arrested for having the same thing in her car that I have in my car right now. It's just mind-blowing to me that there are still places that will arrest you for weed. And I immediately jumped to her defense, on social media, because when I read the report, when we saw the reports, there was nothing about any sort of DUI. There was no endangering safety, nothing like that, because if there was, they would have hit her for that too, especially cops. If they're, they're itching to get you on something, they usually just want to pile on. If these cops had any thought at all that she was driving while impaired, they definitely would have nailed her for that, or at least made her perform some sort of sobriety test or whatever. Maybe she did, maybe she didn't. At the end of the day, she was not charged for that. She was only charged for possession, and that's it. Now, luckily, I wasn't too worried about her getting in too much trouble for this, because it's not like it's a DUI. It's nothing criminal or anything like that. It's just weed. That's all. Now, PWInsider had a report on this. They said, according to them anyway, this is from PWInsider, one story making the way in the WWE is that the vape pen, which allegedly contained a synthetic substance that Liv Morgan was charged with possession of, actually belonged to someone else, but it had been left in her Jeep. So the other drug possession, along with the marijuana that she had, was just a vape pen. That's it, with some synthetic weed in it or whatever. FightFul Select also had a follow-up on this today as well. And I quote, "We're told that there is absolutely no heat on Liv Morgan following the arrest. Liv has not been on TV, did not alter creative plans, and was honest about the situation. There are no issues with her whatsoever," one WWE staff member said. "Everybody liked Liv before. Everybody still likes Liv. We'll get our jokes off, and she'll get hers off, and nobody will be thinking about it soon enough," one top talent told FightFul. Sorry, I got my nose is itching. It's a Tito hair. One WWE name said that Morgan bonded out Thursday and was back on Twitter promoting SmackDown on Friday, which she was. I saw tweets from her last night. Last year, FightFul reported that while marijuana is in the wellness policy, WWE have not tested for it for years. It used to result in a $2,500 fine. So that I was not aware of. I thought WWE might still test for it, but didn't really care if they found any, or maybe gave you a small fine. Apparently, they're not even testing for it at all now, which is great, because I feel like, marijuana is a really, really safe substance for wrestlers to use. When we think about all of the years, the decades of drug abuse, alcohol abuse, pill abuse that have led to more premature deaths than I'm comfortable talking about. And now that you can see stuff like marijuana being used in place of these things, marijuana, which is a completely safe drug that you cannot get addicted to, you cannot OD from it. There's very few dangers involved, or a lot fewer dangers involved than the pills and even the alcohol. Think about these DUIs, these alcohol arrests that the Jimmy Usos and the Jeff Hardys and the Tammy Sitches, and the other wrestlers and celebrities that constantly, or not constantly, but you do hear about often with problems with abuse, addiction, especially when it comes to alcohol. Liv is some cool, laid-back fucking stoner chick. Leave her the fuck alone. It's ridiculous. I don't think anything's going to come of this. These are minor penalties. I think there's still about 10 states that don't have it officially legalized. Some states it's completely legal. Some states it's legal with medical. Some states it's decriminalized. And then some states, I think it's still illegal. I know South Carolina is one of them states right below where I used to live. In them Carolinas, it's still illegal there. Florida, I think, is okay, but you need to have a medical card, which Liv did not. So whatever she has to go through here, it's probably going to be a fine. She is in zero danger of any sort of jail time or any sort of real consequences here. All that happened was that she got pulled over with weed in her car. That's like my everyday life here, just minus the pulled over part. So it's ridiculous. I like that it's turning out that it's not going to be a really big story. I wanted to mention it here today, but I don't think this is going to be something that's going to be too serious for Liv, and I don't think anybody's taking it that seriously. I'm glad that there wasn't any other charges associated with this. I'm glad there wasn't some sort of, altercation or anything with police that would have made this situation worse. They pulled her over, smelled weed, nailed her for possession. She'll go to court, I think in February 12th. She has to be in court for this, and hopefully it'll just be handled there and done with. It's not like she was Cash Wheeler whipping out her Glock, or anything like that. It's Liv toking up in the car. No big deal. No big deal. So, Liv, we got your back on this channel. We are very pro marijuana because I'm not much of a drinker. I don't do drugs either. And I think, smoking weed is a really good way to keep you off of some of the hard shit. A lot of people say it's a gateway. It's not a gateway. Not unless you just have already an addictive person or have, addictive genes in you or something like that. It's not going to, I've never smoked weed and it's made me say, I would really like to give that heroin a shot. It doesn't work that way. So Liv is cool. She's going to be fine. Luckily, I would have been really disappointed if she did get heat backstage, because even if it's minor, one thing that WWE can't be thrilled about, even if you are, charged with something pretty minor or it's not a big deal, still WWE superstar arrested is in headlines. And that's not good for the company. It's not good for their image and their look. But when you read what she was charged with here, not a big deal. She'll be fine. And hopefully she is continuing her recovery from her injury, and she'll be back on TV sooner than later. Now, she was at the Iron Claw premiere, I believe, right? She was there, saw a lot of pictures from that event. She took a picture with MJF. MJF and John Cena were chatting it up a little bit. Chris Van Vliet was there, saw Baron Corbin, John Morrison. A lot of people attended that. Seems like it was a good time, and Liv Morgan was one of them, hanging out with her buddy, MJF, prior to that. But she, apparently got bonded out, was back home, and like I said last night, was tweeting promotion for SmackDown. So all should be well in the world of Liv Morgan. Minor little speed bump that she will now have to just take care of. That's why you got to live in California here, man, where they don't care what you do. It's awesome. Anyway, moving on to more potential WWE news. What about Mercedes Moné, Sasha Banks? We've been talking about Sasha for a while, ever since WWE has really got cooking. Well, we saw Mercedes at All In. And even by that point, I was starting to wonder if she was still going to be doing with anything with AEW. We were expecting her to work with the company in some capacity at some point. I think that was the whole point of her leaving WWE, getting out there, going to Japan, doing other things. A short little stint or some appearances in AEW almost seemed like inevitable, right? And then she got injured, and then we hadn't heard a lot about it over the summer, and then boom, there she is on All In. And I'm like, oh, okay, so that's still on. That's still a thing. They're going to be working together at some point. We should see her soon. And then again, we haven't seen her since or heard much about her since. And we've been speculating here on the podcast for weeks that maybe she is headed back to WWE as well. And I said, if I'm in Sasha's shoes, it's not the same company that I walked out of at all a couple of years ago. And CM Punk just got brought back into the company. I don't think would really be an issue of Sasha still needing to mend fences over there. I think that's all kind of under the bridge now. They'd be happy to have her back. There might still need to be a conversation or two about what happened that night, and an understanding and an agreement to be made that we're not going to be doing that anymore, that type of thing. But I don't think that if Sasha re-signed with the company now, that's something WWE would really have to worry about, her just storming off and leaving. It's a different place. It's not the same place. And when you see how well they've been doing, especially with the women and the exposure and the representation that the women get, they get a lot of TV time. They get a lot of matches, which is a far cry from what we see in AEW. And if Mercedes is in a legacy building mode in her career, I think right now WWE, when they are white hot about doing about as good a business as we have seen in quite some time, and the women, doing great, a lot of great talent over there. They've got a very, very strong roster. WrestleMania is coming up in just a couple of months. I mean, if I'm Sasha, I could go to WWE, be in the Rumble, work Mania, work SummerSlam, just have humongous shows next year in 2024. Big matches, big time money matches, where if I went to AEW, what am I going to do over there? Feud with Toni Storm, which would be awesome. I would love to see it. But the problem with AEW's women's division, if they just have a couple of things that are going well, but overall the division still struggles, I feel like. And Toni Storm is single-handedly carrying that whole damn thing on her back. And if Sasha or Mercedes were to go to AEW, work with Toni Storm, I'd be the first one, buying a front row seat to that feud. But I still feel like WWE would be a better place for Mercedes. I mean, she is going to have to come back as Sasha Banks. I don't know how much of her own personal money she spent rebranding herself as Mercedes Moné, but if she goes back to WWE, I can't see them bringing her in as Mercedes Moné, and I don't want to have to hear that song, Money. So hopefully she'll come back as Sasha Banks with her Sasha Snoop Dogg song, which was much better, and she can resume her WWE career. Now, unfortunately, with Charlotte out, sounds like that Four Horsewomen faction or reunion or potentially even match at WrestleMania is off the table, at least for now. But one thing that is on the table is the fact that we've seen things unraveling with Damage Control and Bayley is going to need a friend. Bayley is going to need a friend. And I feel like this is a no-brainer. Now, Sean Ross Sapp reported this week that the once working plans for AEW and Mercedes Moné are no longer working plans. And Sean mentioned, I think, in his podcast that from what he has been told from his sources, it's a terms thing. So I guess, the contract negotiations, whatever the terms are, is maybe what the stalling point was there with Mercedes or maybe with AEW, or whatever the terms were is kind of what cooled off the talks. And now it's reheated the speculation that there could be no Mercedes in AEW, and instead we're going to get Sasha in WWE. And as from a fan's perspective, to me, it's all about where I want to see somebody. There's some cases like Will Ospreay, I wanted to see him in AEW. Mercedes Moné, I loved the idea of seeing her in AEW a year ago, but things have changed now. Now, just the landscape in WWE, it seems more interesting for her to be there. And plus, there's a storyline waiting for her with her best friend Bayley, who's about to get the shit beaten out of her by her own stablemates here very, very soon on TV. And she could be rescued, helped up, dusted off by her good friend Sasha Banks, or they could save Sasha for a Rumble return, just have her come out in the Rumble. Perhaps if Jade Cargill isn't ready for a debut or anything like that, they could bring out Sasha instead. and then set up a WrestleMania match, Sasha and Bailey against Damage Control. Who knows? Maybe they could go back after those tag team titles. I mean, that's what I would do. I love Chelsea Green. Love her. She is the tag. I love Piper Niven as well, but Chelsea is doing so well with the titles. I consider her as the lone tag team champion. Lost my phone anyway. And I've always kind of thought of her as a tag team champion by herself because they're very, very entertaining. But based on how strong, Damage Control is, and we've seen other factions like Judgment Day, what if Damage Control won the tag team titles? What if the Kabukis, Kairi and Asuka, beat Chelsea and Piper for the tag team titles, and then Mercedes Moné and Bailey can win those tag team titles again, or I'm sorry, Sasha Banks and Bailey can win those titles again, only this time, do it right. Only this time, no crying on the locker room floor after losing to the Iconics or whatever that BS story was back in the day. Nothing like that. So I think that there's more storyline, there's more possibility for her in WWE, and I'm kind of hoping that that's where she winds up, and I'm feeling like that's just what makes sense. Sasha enjoys being a star. She does. You can see it. And I feel like she's going to get the most exposure. The fans get the most chance to cheer for her if she's in WWE. She's going to have WrestleMania matches. She's going to be on TV frequently, weekly. And it probably would be a little bit more stable of a place than AEW. You know what I mean? For right now, anyway. Maybe a year ago I would have felt differently, but I feel like Sasha back in WWE is what she should do, what the fans should do, and what WWE should do. I think they should go after her and pay her whatever she needs to bring her back in, because adding her to the mix, to that already stacked roster, makes their women's division look pretty damn good, at least on paper. There are some names on there and some real good ones. So I kind of hope we see Sasha Banks back in WWE really, really soon. Before we get into CM Punk, I have to step away for 2 seconds. Don't go anywhere, okay? Thank you for that. I'm so sorry about that. I did not have my phone near me, and I need to for work in case there's an emergency. Just got to have that bad boy right here. Thank you for that. But we have to get into CM Punk, and we have a lot of CM Punk stuff to get into because he had a busy week. He's been busy. Not only did he have a busy Monday against on Raw promo battle there with Seth Rollins, he had a busy week, and he's been hanging around in the Performance Center and the PC and NXT. So it seems like CM Punk has really been loving his time in WWE so far. Now, granted, it hasn't been long. It's only been a couple of weeks. And if we remember, just think back to when Punk debuted in AEW, he was all smiles there too. He was delighted to be there, having a good time with everybody, hanging out in the ring, his arm around Jungle Boy. He even said on commentary, man, if you don't like Jungle Boy, something's wrong with you. Maybe you're the problem. That literally came out of his own mouth. Arm around Hangman Page, seemed to just really be happy to be there, ready to work, ready to contribute, and ready to help. And all was fine. And then the shit hit the fan, and it was the complete opposite. And he ended up getting terminated from the company. So he was all smiles in AEW at first too. However, WWE does feel different. And like I said right from the start, right when Punk came back at Survivor Series, I said, okay, this is it. His entire legacy is on the line. And it's interesting because Rollins made mention of that in the promo on Monday as well about Punk's legacy. It's do or die for you. Your entire career and how you're going to be remembered is on the line right now. And that's real. Like, that's a real actual thing that Rollins said to him. And this time, it just feels like Punk is just in a different place. He's probably so happy and thrilled to be away from AEW. I'm sure he has some regrets about how it went, but, it's just weird seeing him back, after all of these years, and how cool it is and how surreal it is and how it really opens up the door for all sorts of storyline potential. But in terms of Punk being there, how he's going to be received in the locker room, how he's going to receive them, So far, I'm sure a lot of talent has their opinions on CM Punk. Some like him, some don't. Some are happier that he's there. Some are not. But I think at the end of the day, anybody who's a professional and is at the top of the card, they're confident in their own ability. Seth Rollins himself in the promo on Monday told CM Punk, "I will wrestle circles around you." And even though I think Punk still, even at this age, can have excellent matches and tell great stories in the ring, athletically, Seth is still far above him in terms of what he can do athletically. And Punk being there, I just don't think he's going to come in there with the ego, perhaps, that maybe he had in AEW, where he was coming in as the WrestleMania main eventer, or I guess not WrestleMania main eventer, but the former WWE champion, mega matches with The Rock and John Cena and the name that he made for himself. He was walking in there like king shit. Now he's going back to WWE, a place he's been gone 10 years, and a whole lot of people became the foundation of that company and the backbone of that company while he's gone. And that was a lot of what the promo with him and Seth was about on Monday, which I thought was really good. But not only, is Punk back on TV setting up WrestleMania storylines, he's been hanging around the Performance Center. Now, apparently Shawn Michaels was one of the first people, even before CM Punk resigned, to kind of welcome Punk back. We'd love to have him. I'd love to have him. He's welcome here anytime he wants. And apparently him and Shawn are pretty cool. And Punk showed up 1 week ago at NXT Deadline. We did a podcast last week, and we were previewing the show, and we did mention the possibility of Punk showing up because I think he took a picture outside the arena or whatever. And he did show up. He was there all day. He hung out with the talent. He was taking pictures, and he had that really cool promo segment in the ring with Shawn where he was wearing the Bret Hart hoodie, and they took a selfie. And just seeing Punk in an NXT ring was cool, an NXT environment. He did briefly, show up in NXT 10 years ago, a little promo with Seth Rollins backstage when Seth was new and had the yellow hair and all that stuff. So Punk being back in that ring was just surreal because CM Punk is standing in an NXT ring on a show that's going head-to-head with AEW Collision, a show that he was a big part of and supposed to be the centerpiece and focal point of. That was he was a big part of them getting that deal on Saturday nights on TNT, was because CM Punk was going to be a big part of the show. And here he is just a couple of months later after that debut of that show on a WWE program running opposite Collision. It's just crazy, the headlines we've had in the last couple of years, is it not? I mean, it felt like it kind of started with Cody, and then it was like just like an avalanche. It was like Cody, then Vince scandal, then the WWE sale, and then the brawl out, and then the brawl in, and then Punk leaving, and then Punk being rehired by WWE, Jade Cargill. Like, holy shit, man. It's just one headline after another. So the fact that Punk was there was just really crazy. And then he showed up back at the PC this week and was hanging around with talent, giving advice, took pictures with Cora Jade and Nikita Lyons and Roxanne Perez and all the women, apparently. I didn't see any Brian Pillman Jr. pick. I don't know if that's cancel culture or not. But he wasn't taking pictures with too many dudes. It was all the women, and I guess Cora Jade. And a lot of the talent coming up now, they were just kids. They were kids when we started doing YouTube videos here. So the people that are inspiring the next generation of wrestlers, are kind of still around. And I think a lot of people were marking out at CM Punk. And I know Cora Jade was one of them. So apparently Punk, and we mentioned this the night of his Raw promo when he returned after Survivor Series, when he had the return promo on Raw that a lot of people didn't like. We said that night, when talking about Punk's legacy, I mentioned the fact that he really seems to be eager and wanting to give advice and help. And that was an issue I think he had in AEW, where people weren't wanting to listen to the help, or they weren't treating him or considering him, a coach in that respect, or he just had trouble doing that. Where at the PC, that's the whole point. The whole point of being in the PC as a wrestler is to take guidance and advice and learn from people who paved the road before you. And I think Punk had a lot of aspirations to do that in AEW. It just wasn't working out. And this feels like an outlet that he could have here to kind of help spread his knowledge or his experience or whatever. And it feels like it's always been something that's really important to him. And we mentioned that when talking about his legacy. I said, look, I said this the night that he returned on Raw, one night after Survivor Series. I said, in a perfect world, if everything goes as well as possible for CM Punk, like absolutely perfectly. He loves being back. They love him. All of his programs are going well. The locker room's got no issues with him, and everything is going as perfectly as possible. He wrestles a good, strong 3 years. He transitions out of the ring. Maybe he's somebody who could be a coach in NXT. We talked about that very scenario the night after he returned. And apparently he might have aspirations to do even more than just coach there. He might want to succeed Shawn Michaels. Now, here's what FightFul Select had to say about that this weekend. I quote, "So sources we spoke to said that even though he wasn't planned for the show, Punk showed up and spent most of the day at the WWE Performance Center. He was backstage and was willing to help anyone who asked for it, and even hanging out with talent in the lounge. Punk was also watching matches with talent and giving them feedback. Fightful's Corey Brennan also heard that Punk was moving around the area, including Gorilla and behind the hard cam area and tech crew observing. Shawn Michaels was the most vocal WWE-related name to publicly welcome CM Punk to the company well before any talks were held. Specifically, Michaels outright welcomed Punk to NXT, and sources close to Punk claim that he didn't take that endorsement lightly. In addition, WWE sources tell Fightful that Punk is welcome at the PC whenever he wants. Our friend Ibu of Wrestle Purist has a good connection with sources close to Punk and says that Punk's long-term goal is to succeed the 58-year-old Michaels in heading up NXT. WWE officials tell Fightful that something like that would be a long way off, and there are no plans as of now for Michaels to wrap up his run in NXT anytime soon. Ibu also noted that Punk would be observing TV production, something that he was known to do in OVW and would often bend Paul Heyman's ear about. Everyone that we've spoken to at the PC say that Punk has been a pleasure to deal with so far, and there was a lot of excitement around Punk being there. So that's very, very cool. And that's why we brought this up the night after Survivor Series. I said, WWE has a performance center. If Punk really has this desire to teach, to coach, to shape the next generation, WWE would be a really good place for him because they have an entire facility designated for this very thing, where AEW doesn't really have that. They've got Ring of Honor. I think AEW should figure out a way to implement some sort of developmental system or training facility or power plant or whatever. Maybe that can still come in the future, but there's really no place to be a coach, a trainer, a mentor there other than just in the form of being a locker room leader. And this, WWE's a much more structured machine. And if Punk wants to coach and he wants to mentor, there can be a place for that. And his willingness, his eagerness to do that is interesting and I think very cool. And I like it when, the stars of, that I grew up with, hang around and are still a big part of the business, just in a non-in-ring capacity. I think is very cool. So if Punk wants to have a role in the PC, I think that's still an option. I think he could go there, be a coach, work side by side with Shawn Michaels. I know they already have like a head trainer there and Matt Bloom and some other people up the ladder. I don't know if, Punk would be leapfrogging any of them to get to that role that Shawn Michaels currently has that he obviously isn't going to be able to do forever if he's 58. Is he really going to want to do that into his 70s? So, Michaels could be wrapping up things in the next few years, and maybe CM Punk is, will be the next guy to sit in Shawn Michaels' seat. And if so, I think that would be pretty cool based on what we're hearing about Punk so far. If reports start changing, apparently Punk had a bad day at Raw, got pissed because somebody ate all the salad and catering and threw a spoon that hit, Tozawa in the face or something. I don't know. But based on everything we're hearing now, it feels like Punk, like I said, and I predicted this before he got moving back on TV. I said he's going to be Hogan in 2002. He's going to be on his best behavior, shaking everybody's hand, making amends, doing whatever he can to not ruffle any feathers, not let anybody, think that he's there to take anybody's spot, hold anybody down, or basically just have the reputation that he's been known for. Hogan went through the same thing. When the NWO got brought in 2002, a lot of that locker room was like, are you fucking kidding me? After everything that fucker has done against us for the last 9 years, he's going to walk back in here and now start taking paydays from us? Fuck you. But he did it. He came in, and I didn't mind Hogan's 2002 run. It was that 1-05, and when he came back other times when he was able to use his creative control bullshit that I didn't like. But when he first came back, even though he won the title from Triple H at Backlash, he lost to everybody. Everybody beat him. Rock beat him at Mania. Taker beat him for the title. Triple H then beat Hogan, I think, after he lost the title to him, or before. Triple H got a win over him, too. Kurt Angle tapped him out. Brock Lesnar beat him up and rubbed his blood all over his chest. Hogan was losing. So I feel like, Punk was going to be on his best behavior, and so far it sounds like he has been. And that's just good to hear. The drama can be fun, but there is a limit to it, Like I kind of like hearing about backstage altercations and shit because it's really fun to discuss on the YouTube channel and the podcast and stuff. But really, at the end of the day, a lot of that is negative, and I don't like negative. I like to hear about good stories, positive stories. And I think CM Punk, with his career, the legacy, and the moments that he's had in his career, I would really be disappointed as a wrestling fan if his legacy ended in a disappointing way. If we had to remember CM Punk, not for the Money in the Bank victory against John Cena, or not for some of the great WrestleMania matches he did have that weren't in the main event, or any of the other great moments, matches of his legacy that he's had, we don't remember him for any of that. We remember him for his attitude, the fact that he's a bridge burner, the fact that he never got along with anybody, the fact that nobody liked him. I'd rather remember CM Punk positively rather than negatively. And now it seems like with this WWE run, it was kind of meant to be. I feel like it was just meant to be because if he would have stayed in AEW, I just don't know how that would have gone. For him. Eventually, even if the brawl out stuff didn't happen, it feels like something else other frustrations would have taken place or tempers would have boiled over. And I feel like just wasn't the place for him. I feel like the WWE machine as we know it now, because Punk is coming in as an outsider, somebody who's been gone for 10 years. Kofi Kingston had a Jamaican accent last time Punk was there, which they referenced on Monday night. Punk wasn't even there for any of the New Day's run. How crazy is that? The New Day didn't get formed until after Punk was gone. How nuts is that? So I feel like Punk in WWE so far has been very positive, and I've really enjoyed reading the positive reports about him in WWE so far. So that's going to kind of transition us into our next thing. And it's just so much CM Punk, man. It's never ending CM Punk. That's going to transition us into our WWE and Warner Brothers Discovery speculation. And then we're going to get into Monday Night Raw, where we're going to talk about Punk and Rollins some more. So buckle up, more Punk coming to you. I hope you can take all this Punk. But before we do that, let me cruise to the chat. Stephen Harris, today is my birthday, Greg Morgan. I made it 30 years old today. Well, good for you, man. Happy 30th. I remember when I turned 30 in 2007. It's a good age to be, man. Happy birthday to you, and thank you for being here. I want to say what's up to Max Pokebrook. Punk, Cody, Roman, triple threat would be wild. It would be wild. I don't know if I want that, but we've mentioned the possibility of a triple threat before because WWE likes to do triple threats on the anniversaries. 20 and 30, we did them, right? And even WrestleMania 10 was wonky. So, with like multiple championship matches. So they usually do different stuff. I was mentioning a triple threat months ago with Cody, Roman, and Gunther, but now maybe CM Punk. I would save Punk. I would save Punk against Cody and Roman for like individual matches because I think those are big money matches to have. Punk and Roman would be a great SummerSlam match, and Punk and Cody would be a great crown jewel match. So we'll see what happens. But triple threat, I'm not ruling it out. I just kind of have my own ideas for WrestleMania now. Spectre, what's up, dude? Hey, Greg, hope all is good. Shame to hear about your sister being arrested, man, especially for weed. Hope Liv is okay. All seriousness, it's upsetting. It's upsetting for the DUI, but hope it's a one-time thing. I don't think she didn't get a DUI, Spectre, so there was no driving under the influence. If there was something like that, if she was arrested for driving while impaired and endangering lives and shit like that, I might be a little harder on her, but she was just arrested for weed in her car. That's it. And I don't think that's really a crime. So that's kind of why I have her back. Let me see. Who else we got in here? Is there another super I have to answer? Yes, from Spectre. Thanks for the $5, dude. It's funny to rewatch Punk's AEW debut promos. I don't know. I've let my anger for him go. No reason to hold on to it. I just hope he's in a better place for him. Well, that's a good, mature way to look at it, because Punk's never done anything to us personally. But, when you heard those stories, and we've heard countless stories throughout the years and decades now of Punk and how he tends to be with his personality, a lot of them are pretty unflattering. And I've called him a dick more than once, but I think Punk understands that he can be a dick. I don't think that's debated. I don't think Punk is out there claiming that he's not one. I think he understands how he is. He knows how he is. And just hopefully that now in his mid-40s, in a place in his life where he's got to start thinking about legacy, that a lot of that nonsense kind of needs to be pushed aside, and you need to be thinking about your life, your career, your legacy, that type of stuff, which I believe that he is. Good to see Straight Edge Mando and Mike Rouse. Anybody else? Domination Warrior, Steven, like I said, happy birthday again. Martin Jordan, whoever else has been chiming in as I've been talking here for the last hour. Good to see you and welcome, and thank you for being here with us today on the Winged Eagle. I could still use some more thumbs ups on the likes if you don't mind, and if you haven't clicked that subscribe button, do that. Click that notifications bell too, just so you know when I'm going to be here. But continuing on with the CM Punk stuff, he kind of ties into this next subject because there's been a lot of speculation this week that WWE, who is currently shopping TV rights for Monday Night Raw right now as we speak and are very close to a deal with somebody, there have been some speculation, or has been some speculation throughout the week, that WWE could maybe actually sign with Warner Brothers Discovery. Warner Brothers Discovery could acquire the TV rights to Monday Night Raw. Now, we know SmackDown is going to move to USA Network next year, which means USA is probably not going to retain Monday Night Raw. They've been negotiating and talking to various outfits for, I think, months now. And PWInsider this week reported that WWE officials were in New York talking to a Warner Brothers executive. He's the chief revenue strategy officer, about joining Warner Brothers, and they were there negotiating that in New York. Now, Meltzer added a little bit more to this as well this week, claiming that CM Punk is what has likely opened a door that was previously shut. I don't think Warner Brothers Discovery was really a realistic landing spot for WWE Raw until Punk came back to the company. And if you remember, Punk was a big selling point to getting Collision on the air. And Warner Brothers Discovery wanted CM Punk. They see him as a needle mover, as a ratings getter. They do. They wanted him to be a part of Collision. He was kind of part of the deal, and then he was fired. So now they might have a chance to get him back on another show that does even bigger ratings. It's WWE's flagship show, Monday Night Raw, the brand he's currently signed to. And they could push his merch. They could push, all of that. And they could get out of Raw what they didn't get out of AEW Collision. And Punk apparently was a major part of this pitch of WWE on Warner Brothers Discovery, whether it be TBS or TNT. And that's just all kinds of crazy to me. Now, my gut, without not knowing too much about the business end of these things, is that I just don't feel like, even though there's some chatter, even though there's some speculation, I don't feel like it's realistic for WWE to go to TNT or TBS for a couple of reasons. Number one, every time Tony Khan has spoken about their TV rights deal, which is currently, being shopped around and negotiated as well, they are also looking to either re-up with Warner Brothers or find a new home. Tony Khan does not seem too concerned about it. Even in the Ring of Honor Final Battle Scrum last night, he mentioned something to the effect, when he was asked about this, about the networks doing their due diligence, which just means they need to entertain all suitors and all options and think about their future and what they're going to do. Don't forget, I think they're still trying to negotiate the NBA TV rights. So I think a lot of the thought in the public was, if they can't retain the NBA and NBA leaves, that opens up a whole lot of money there to be used, and they might want to capitalize on wrestling because wrestling's available. And apparently there's not, being brand exclusive isn't really a factor here, meaning that Warner Brothers Discovery could technically, nothing's stopping them from signing both AEW and WWE. Now, I feel like that's highly unlikely, but ESPN is currently doing that with the UFC and what's the other one? Is it the PLF? What's the I had it written down here somewhere. PFL. I'm sorry. Or ESPN is currently under contract with the UFC and their competitor, PFL. So it's not out of the question that they could have both, but that would be hard to wrap my head around. I can't even see WWE really wanting that. If they were both under the same network umbrella, there could be some cross promotion there. And that's why I don't know if that would be a really smart deal for WWE. Why are we going to come to you and help promote another wrestling company? We're just going to be doing you all favors. Plus there's the financial aspect to it. And it sounds like, and again, this is just basically based on the generalities that we've been reading all week. It doesn't sound like Warner Brothers really is in the position to offer them the most money. They've got a target amount, I think, which was about $400 million is what they're looking to get for Monday Night Raw. And I feel like at the end of the day, WWE is going to take the deal that gives them the most money. Because if they wanted to do something petty, for example, like sign with Warner Brothers Discovery just to shove AEW out, it feels like they would probably have to take less money to do that. And that would be tough to explain to shareholders. Oh, we took a smaller deal so we could be petty. I don't think it's like that. A lot of fans are thinking about this along the lines of how like Vince McMahon would think. They might want to stick it to AEW. It's not really about that. They're going to just take the most money is what they're going to do. And now that Warner Brothers Discovery is still an option, they're probably listening to what they have to say, giving their own pitches, negotiating, seeing what kind of deal can be worked out. And I think really it was probably just the two of them communicating and discussing a deal. But ultimately, I would be really surprised if they landed there. If they did, it would be wild. Could you imagine Monday Night Raw on TNT? And would Raw leave Monday nights if it went to Warner Brothers Discovery? It might stay put, because if they put it on a different night, that might coincide with basketball if they do keep the NBA. I know TBS has baseball as well. Depends on what other sports they have on there, if they can prevent preemption. Back in the day, WWE used to get preempted for the Dog Show and the US Open until finally that stopped. And they had enough stroke to say, no, we're not doing that anymore in their negotiations. So if they went to TNT, would they be more susceptible to preemption than if they signed with Stuck on USA Network, or maybe went to a streaming platform like Amazon or Netflix or something like that, or perhaps Fox, although I don't think that's going to happen. So who knows where they're going to land, but all of that chatter certainly is interesting. And it makes you wonder, with Punk being in WWE now, could Warner Brothers Discovery, go after WWE programming? But they already have pro wrestling. So they have a really good relationship with AEW and Tony Khan. So I can't see Warner Brothers Discovery doing to AEW what Spike TV did to ECW. TNT and Warner Brothers Discovery and TBS have been pretty good to Tony Khan, especially with the advertising, with the TV time, with the the extra time that they've been getting, the Battle of the Belt shows and the backstage stuff. I mean, it feels like they are committed to AEW and AEW programming. They would be really, kicking them to the curb if they signed them or they dumped them for the prettier girl to take to the dance. I can't see them treating AEW that way unless the deal is just too good to pass up. Or if maybe AEW gets bumped to the Discovery Channel or another channel under their umbrella, which might also suck for them. So I don't know. At this point, I don't know who really the top candidate is to land at WWE Raw. I hope we figure that out soon, because honestly, I'm a creature of habit. I would be kind of bummed if wrestling left Monday nights. It's a really good night for me. Monday Night Raw has been on Mondays for 31 years coming up next month, which is just crazy. And if Raw were to leave and it became Tuesday Night Raw, Thursday Night Raw, Thursday Raw, Thursday, Saturday morning Raw, or something like that, it just wouldn't be the same. So I personally don't care where Monday Night Raw winds up. I hope it doesn't end up on Fox, because my current streaming platform doesn't, for watching cable TV, doesn't play Fox live. You know what I mean? So like if SmackDown comes on at 8 p.m. on the East Coast, I have to wait until 8 p.m. here on the West Coast for it to come on, which means it's already aired, where Raw plays live. But for some reason, that doesn't work that way with the Fox station. So if Raw went to Fox, I'd have to get another option to watch TV, which would suck. But really, as long as it doesn't go there, I don't really care where Raw ends up. I will find it, provided it would just be preferable to me as a fan if it stayed on Mondays. But I also understand it's head-to-head with Monday Night Football, and 4 months a year, you're going to have to deal with lower ratings. And if they can find a better place for it to be where they don't have to worry about that, then maybe that's something they want to explore for business. But as a fan, I just want it to stay on Monday Night Raw. And if I were to venture a guess at all, or give you my gut feeling on this, I personally feel like WWE will probably not sign with Warner Brothers Discovery. Tony Khan just does not, he doesn't really have a good poker face, so I feel like he would be in full-blown panic mode if he really truly thought there was a major chance they could lose their TV deal, because without their TV deal, what are they? So I feel like Tony Khan is confident that they're going to sign a new deal with Warner Brothers Discovery. And if they do sign this new deal and they do get the TV rights figures that they're expecting to get for Dynamite and Rampage and Collision and whatever, that should turn AEW into a profitable company, because it's all going to be hinging on their next TV deal. Some of the financial estimates were revealed this week, and the losses for AEW, 30-something million, it would basically be the equivalent of me or you losing $75, drop in the bucket in terms of the losses. But the next TV rights deal would make AEW profitable. And WCW went many more years than this, I think, as being an unprofitable, non-profitable company. And AEW should start being profitable once they sign that next TV rights deal. And it's just a matter of when that's going to be and who it's going to be with. And it's really interesting that Raw and AEW, or WWE and AEW, kind of have these deals up together. It would be cool if they were like 2 years off from each other. WWE would be up, and then AEW would be up a couple of years later. But the fact that they're both negotiating at the same time and both talking to the same networks is really interesting to see and to wonder where both of these shows are going to end up, Dynamite and Monday Night Raw. They could be anywhere, but we'll keep our eye on the WWE Warner Brothers Discovery possibilities and speculation, and if it is even close to being a reality or not. But since Nick Khan and Triple H and other WWE officials were in New York on Monday talking to them, they at least know what they want to offer or can offer, and probably have a pretty good idea about that. And Meltzer has been saying that he's expecting some sort of an announcement on Monday Night Raw's TV deal any day now. So maybe they're waiting until the end of the year or the beginning of the year to announce this. I don't know, but I'm kind of ready to find out where everything is going to land. And who knows, CM Punk could wind up back on TNT after all, if everything falls into place that way. Who knows? Oh man. Let me get into the next order of business here, which was this past week's Monday Night Raw. And I wanted to talk about this just because we had to bring up the Seth Rollins and CM Punk promo that opened the show. It was fantastic. Or did it open the show? I forgot if it opened the show or not. It might not have. But on Monday Night Raw, CM Punk was advertised to be on the show where he was going to make his decision which brand he was going to sign with, NXT, SmackDown, or Monday Night Raw. We knew it was going to be Monday Night Raw. We knew there was a program imminent with Seth Rollins, and he wouldn't show up on Raw to announce he's signing with SmackDown. You know what I mean? He would have just done that on Friday. So him signing with Raw was pretty much a guarantee. And interestingly enough, they were in Cleveland, which apparently is the same building that he walked out of after the Royal Rumble in 2014, and the same building where he got the shit kicked out of him in his UFC fight against Mickey Gall. So he was back in Cleveland, a building where he has not had great luck, but his luck turned around here because this was a fantastic segment. He talked about, gave a little history lesson on when he left and why, still trying to explain, what he's doing back and how it feels to be there, that kind of thing. Adam Pearce is in the ring with him. He takes the contract. He signs it. It's a done deal. He's on Monday Night Raw. He climbs to the ropes to start celebrating with the crowd, and that's when Seth Rollins' music hits. Out comes Seth, This was fantastic. Incidentally, there are reports that Seth Rollins' contract is up in June of 2024. So in just a few months, I'm not too worried about this right now. I have no doubt that Seth Rollins is going to re-up with WWE. He mentioned in his promo that he's 38 years old. I think that he should probably be WWE for life. He doesn't strike me as someone who has that Danielson or Mercedes Moné desire to go travel the world and wrestle. You know, he's developed such a great WWE legacy for himself. His wife is there. They both have. I feel like WWE is where his bread is buttered, and I'm not too concerned about Seth leaving next year, especially if he's coming right off a year-long title run, or almost a year-long World Heavyweight Championship run. So I think Seth is going to resign without any issues there, but apparently his contract is up. So then we get the face-to-face. It's Rollins, it's Punk, face-to-face in the ring. Very, very cool visual, and just that visual alone, I thought, was a great way just to kind of set up what we're in for and how exciting things are going to be. And Rollins gets on the mic and he said, "You abandoned this place 10 years ago, and while you were gone, you actively tried to tear it down. So don't you dare come back in here and call this place your home. This is my house now. And as a leader here, it's my responsibility to protect this place from people like you." And a lot of what he was saying there, you know, is kind of similar to what Hangman Page said to Punk in that promo that started all this shit a couple of years ago. The big difference is, number one, you understand this one makes sense, where Hangman Page's comments seem to be coming out of left field, which I think was the problem there. But with Rollins, you know, like I said earlier, when Rollins mentions his legacy, it's true. Like, everything that Rollins said is true. There's probably talent in the locker room that feel exactly like Seth Rollins' words, that do feel that way. I think a lot of fans feel that way. And that's what you know is going to make this promo and this program so good, is that how much reality there really is, and that Seth Rollins has gone on record saying that he didn't really like CM Punk, that he was an asshole and he came off like a douchebag and didn't care much for him. And having them work together now, I think, is just going to be really, really excellent TV, because it can go like so many different directions. So after Seth was done saying his piece, laying into CM Punk pretty good, he said that he wants CM Punk on Monday Night Raw, and he referenced how this is his last chance. His legacy's on the line. This is his last chance to make something of his career. He is either going to self-destruct, and Seth said he'll close and slam the door on his legacy himself, or if you have changed and you do still have gas left in your tank, I'll be the one to expose you and show you exactly what it means to be the best in the world. I will run circles, wrestle circles around you, he said, which I thought was great. And that's confidence. That's Punk. That's Rollins telling Punk, you know, in real time, you know, yeah, you might have the CM Punk name, you know, but me and you get in the ring, you're going to see how good I've become since you've been gone. And I like that. And after Seth was done saying his piece, Punk got on the mic and said, "That was your free pass to talk to me disrespectfully." He goes, "Now," he said, "Adam Pearce, where you at? Now is as good a time as any to make it official. I am officially entering the Royal Rumble. And if I win the Royal Rumble, maybe it's you that I'm coming after." And then walks away. And I'm like, oh, that's so good, because it almost vindicates me, because I've been harping on this situation for so long. I said, I'm worried about WrestleMania 40. I'm worried about Cody's story, because he's going to have to win the Rumble to challenge Roman, because I cannot see a scenario where the winner of the Royal Rumble would not challenge Roman. So you've booked yourself into a corner now. If you want to do Cody and Gunther as the final two again, you mean to tell me Cody's going to win again? He came in at number 30 and then tossed out Gunther? That's not a very babyface thing to do last year. So maybe this year he comes in at number 1. But if he comes in at number 1 and then Gunther comes in at number 30, maybe Gunther should be the one to eliminate him. But I think Gunther might be out of the picture now that Punk is back. And I feel like now, I think what they should do is have CM Punk and Cody Rhodes be the final two in the Rumble. And even though I would love to see Cody win the Rumble and win the title at WrestleMania, I was worried about the predictability aspect of that. And I said, Cody winning the Rumble is just going to basically tell you the night of the Rumble what the finish of WrestleMania is going to be. We're going to know in January what we're going to see at the end of night 2. Is that what you want? And what can you do between now and then that might cast doubt in the fan's mind? And that's where I was stumped. I said, what does WWE do in this situation? Because if Cody, like for example, if Cody doesn't win the Rumble, you would just think whoever does is challenging Roman. I would, if I'm a star. So what they're doing here with Punk and Rollins, I feel like, is planting that seeds of hatred. Rollins told Punk right to his face, I hate you. And I think that plants those seeds, sows those seeds of anger and hate. And a lot of things can happen between the two of them between now and the Royal Rumble on TV with interference or brawls or whatever, or more promos or just more altercations between the two. Who knows how long it takes them to get physical? Who knows if we see Punk in a WWE ring before the Royal Rumble? Is he going to have a match on Raw, or are they going to Brock Lesnar this guy? And it's going to be another 10 years before we actually see him wrestle a match on Raw. I feel like Punk will be wrestling on Raw, but we might not see him wrestle until the Rumble. That might be the reality there. We don't know. But what I like about Punk and Rollins is now it's giving you that reason. Now I feel like, where I haven't felt this way before, now I feel like, oh, okay, now you've given yourself a scenario where you could actually have the winner of the Rumble not challenge Roman. Because if you get enough anger and animosity and hatred between Rollins and Punk, when Punk wins the Rumble, I say it's Cody and Punk, the final two, and Punk eliminates Cody. It could be with help from somebody or something, I don't know. Or Cody could, feel screwed or whatever, but Punk and Cody, Punk eliminate, it gives you that little taste of Punk and Cody in the ring together, just a little taste of what we'll see in the future between them. Punk and Cody, final two, Punk wins the Rumble, and instead of doing this shit where, you go on TV the next week, or you have to take 2 weeks to decide to make your decision of which champion to challenge, if Punk really has all this pent-up hatred and anger and animosity for Seth Rollins, if I'm Punk, I'm grabbing the mic right out of the announcer's hand right after I win the Royal Rumble that night. Get on the top rope as I'm pointing to the WrestleMania sign and I'm saying, Seth, I'll see you there as the fucking fireworks go off. I would waste no time. I would let it be known right there who I'm challenging, because that gives him reason, motivation to not challenge Roman. His hatred for Seth Rollins isn't something that he needs to think about. He doesn't have to go home and sleep on it. Who am I going to challenge? No, I want to kill this fucking guy. I hate him. I want to take his title from him. My dislike for Seth Rollins is more important to me than unseating Roman Reigns for his championship. And now you've got a reason. And that's all I asked. And all year long, you guys who's here every week, you know how many times I've mentioned this. I said, do you really go that predictable route, the winner of the Rumble? Because everybody said, Greg, Cody doesn't have to win the Rumble. I said, yes, he does. Because the winner of the Rumble is going to want Roman. Because people were mentioning the Cody getting the shot another way before Punk even came back. But I said, no, that wouldn't work. Because why would the person winning the Rumble challenge Seth? Makes no sense. It makes sense if it's Punk. Because Punk hates him. So that's what I would do. I would have Punk and Cody as your final two, which again, might be kind of predictable. They've already set that up, that could be our final two. Punk and Cody, final two, Punk wins. Punk immediately after the match, don't wait till Monday Night Raw, none of that. Immediately after winning the Royal Rumble, get on the mic, Seth Rollins, I'm coming after you. I'll see you at WrestleMania. And boom, there's your night one main event. Then Cody, the next night on Monday Night Raw, he comes out for a promo. I'm disappointed. I don't know what happened. I have a story to finish, and that story was taken away from me. Maybe it's one of the Bloodline guys. Maybe Solo comes out there, or Jimmy, or even Roman, but probably Solo or Jimmy, and tries to do something to get Cody out, basically saying Roman's afraid of you. He doesn't want to have to go through that again because he knows you had him beat at WrestleMania 39, and he might not be that lucky at WrestleMania 40. So maybe he's sent the Bloodline out to get rid of Cody. And maybe it's Solo and Jimmy hitting the ring, eliminating Cody early in the Rumble or something, or maybe just doing something like what happened at WrestleMania 39. Remember Solo jumped up, boom, Samoan Spike, only this time maybe CM Punk doesn't see it. It's Cody and Punk. They're both down in the ring. Punk's, laying on his stomach with his head down. Solo comes in the ring, boom, Samoan spike to Cody Rhodes. CM Punk eliminates him and then challenges Seth Rollins. And then Cody on Raw the next night is pissed off, rightfully so. You know, I had a story to finish and you are afraid of me. You sent your goons out there to eliminate me from the Royal Rumble because you know you can't beat me, you fucking pussy. And maybe Adam Pearce and Nick Aldis have an agreement and the Elimination Chamber match is made to determine who Roman's challenger is. Or maybe Roman defends in the chamber. I don't know. I feel like he's got to be there. It's Australia. It's a big show. So Roman might be defending the title in the chamber. I kind of hope not, but he might be. Or you do the chamber to determine his challenger, and then some sort of a deal is struck. Or maybe Cody has to win a match. Maybe Cody says, I don't want you guys to give me something for nothing. How about I beat Solo and Jimmy in a handicap match? If I win, I get in the chamber. Maybe they do it the same night. Maybe at Elimination Chamber, it's Cody. That's a lot of adversity, though. That's a lot of adversity. Maybe Cody's got to run the gauntlet against Solo and Jimmy. If he beats them both, then he gets entered into the Elimination Chamber in the main event. And so then he essentially has two matches, then gets entered into the chamber, and then wins that. You know, so basically throwing every obstacle, every bit of adversity that you possibly can in front of Cody. And he's going to be on TV after the Royal Rumble saying, shit, I didn't win the Rumble. I'm on Raw. Roman's on SmackDown. I have no path to complete my story, you know, unless one creates itself for me. And so maybe he's scrambling then to find a way to finish that story, and he sees a way to get there through the Elimination Chamber match somehow, and maybe he earns that in Australia, and then that sets up Roman and Cody. And then you've got your night 1 and your night 2 main event set. Seth Rollins versus CM Punk main event night 1. You know, CM Punk has always wanted to main event to WrestleMania, and maybe part of Triple H and CM Punk's negotiation was, hey, we have 2 nights of WrestleMania now. Not a 4-night extravaganza, but a 2-night event now. Main eventing a WrestleMania is a little easier to do. So if that's still a selling point for you, if that's still something that you want to accomplish for your career, the best I can do is give you night 1 against Seth Rollins. And then there you go. And that's where Punk takes his loss. And I think Seth Rollins beats CM Punk in the main event of night 1, and then maybe gets cashed in on by Damian Priest right after the match. I kind of thought Damian Priest's cash in would come at the Rumble. I thought Rollins and Punk would wrestle at the Rumble, but apparently that's probably going to be WrestleMania now, and maybe you do the cash in on night 1. Damian Priest walks out as champion after Rollins beats Punk. Maybe Rollins beats Punk and then Punk snaps, GTS's him, kicks his ass, and then Priest comes out and cashes in. Something like that could be great. Either way, I feel like whether Rollins walks out of WrestleMania as the champion or not, I feel like he beats CM Punk in their match. In their first match, whenever that is, which is probably going to be WrestleMania, I think Rollins beats him. And then on night 2, Cody finishes his story. So it's not like the Cena and Batista thing where they both win the title at WrestleMania 21. Don't do that with Punk and Cody. Maybe do it with Priest and Cody, or just have Cody be the only male wrestler to win a world championship on that weekend and just have Rollins retain. But Priest, you got to factor him in. I've said right from the start, he is going to win that world heavyweight title. I'm convinced Damian Priest will win the world heavyweight championship, and he will successfully cash in his Money in the Bank briefcase. I've been saying that for months. I don't feel like they're going to do him wrong in this scenario. What's cool about CM Punk is he brings so much interest and buzz. You know, he doesn't necessarily need to have a title for his feuds. And that's why if his first one is for a championship, he then loses that to Rollins, and then Priest goes on to win the title and whatever. And then Punk can move on to something with Roman Reigns at SummerSlam, and then eventually get another title shot later against Cody Rhodes. So there's so much to do here, but I feel like in my head, that's the best scenario for WrestleMania. Is Punk and Rollins night 1, where Rollins wins, potentially loses in a cash-in, and Cody finishes his story on night 2. And now with Punk winning the Rumble, that actually can be interesting to watch Cody try to finish that story instead of making it predictable like I felt like it was going to be up until now. So That's where I kind of see it going. And I think it's going to be fun to watch that unfold. Now, also, Punk on Monday Night Raw interacted with some more talent behind the scenes. He ran into Drew McIntyre backstage, and Drew's like, I don't fucking care what you're here to do. I care about my story. And that's when Adam Pearce announced that McIntyre is going to get a title shot against Seth Rollins at the January 1st Monday Night Raw right here in San Diego. And then as Drew walks off, Kofi Kingston, Gable, and Ricochet show up. And Punk's like, Jamaican me crazy. And Kofi's like, I don't even do that anymore. I'm not Jamaican anymore. And he shakes Gable's hand. He said, I've heard a lot about you. And he looks at Ricochet and he goes, I heard you're terrible at video games. And then like walks off. And Gable even kind of gave that, it's good to have you. You know, Gable might be one of those guys. You know, if I'm Gable, you know, I'm a pretty tough guy in my own right. You know, I wouldn't, I'm sure Gable's just like, just try something. Just try something, Punk. I'll take you down, tie you in a pretzel. So it was cool just to see him backstage, just smiling and being happy. Even if it's all an act, it's just fun and nice to see positivity. You know what I mean? Unfortunately, Damian Priest did not continue to tolerate R-Truth. They kicked him out of Judgment Day officially. They were arguing backstage, even Rhea Ripley kind of getting in Damian Priest's face about being the leader. There's kind of that power struggle there. Dom has recently dropped his championship as well. And how cute was Dom and Rhea Ripley? They were all over Perth, I think doing promotion for Elimination Chamber. They were doing zip lining and shit, went to the zoo together, took all sorts of pictures. They're cute as hell. And then you get Judgment Day in the ring with R-Truth, and R-Truth is like, y'all, I think we need to kick out JD McDonough, and he's right, they probably should. And then Priest starts laughing. He goes, you know, you're a funny guy. I can see why the locker room likes you, but unfortunately, I don't. And he just levels R-Truth, and they start beating him down, which is kind of sad because the way Priest was kind of tolerating R-Truth, infiltrating their little clubhouse, I thought might have been a hint to a Damian Priest babyface turn coming up. But who knows? CM Punk being back might have changed a lot of their creative plans for a lot of people. We don't know the ripple effect yet that had. The Creed brothers came out to save and run off Judgment Day, save R-Truth and run off Judgment Day. And of course, the Creeds have got a tag team title shot coming up against Balor and Priest down the road. And the main event was Cody Rhodes and Nakamura. Unfortunately, a good main event ended in a red mist disqualification as Cody got misted in the face and got Kinshasa. I can't say it ever. He got Kinshasa'd by Nakamura, and Nakamura was beating him down. And that's when the Creed brothers came out to save him. Nakamura ran off, and they helped Cody Rhodes up. And I'm like, Now, the Creeds were already out there saving R-Truth, but that was more because they've got a title shot coming up against Judgment Day. Why did they come out and save Cody? Just because they're good, wholesome white meat baby faces, I guess, right? I think the three of them would make a hell of a good-looking team, good-looking faction. Remember Team Angle? With Angle and Shelton and Benjamin, or Shelton and Haus? What if it's like Cody in the Nightmare Factory? Fucking tracksuits. He's got the Creed boys who are no joke. I mean, those guys are ridiculous. And I think they would make an awesome Nightmare family, wouldn't you? Cody and those two Creed boys, especially if Cody winds up winning the title. You know, I feel like that would be could be good for a heel faction too. But having Cody there with some backup, and Cody is the champion, and now he's the Randy Orton, and he's got his own legacy. You know, that's why I think a Cody and Randy Orton title match, that might be a good SummerSlam match, actually. Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton for the title or something. I don't know. But when I saw the Creed save him, I'm like, you know, they would look really good together, all three of those guys, if Cody started his Nightmare family in WWE. I kind of hope that happens. It just kind of looked natural, the three of them there. You know, Cody obviously had red shit all over his face, but just the fact that the Creeds were there, you know, trying to help him up, I'm like, I could see something there. So hopefully we get some more of that in 2024. And who knows, you know, Cody could have himself an entire little group by the time he wins the championship next year in Philly. Let's transition now into SmackDown. Oh, by the way, this week on Monday Night Raw, I believe, is a double taping. So we're going to be here on Monday for our Raw review in 2 days. And I guess when we're done doing the review, they're going to be taping the following week's Raw. So that's coming up this week because the following Monday is Christmas Day. So there will be no Raw review on Christmas Day, obviously, because that's going to be probably, now I wouldn't say boring, but it's probably not going to be a very eventful show. SmackDown last night was also a double taping as well. And prior to the show, WWE was trying out what apparently is some new match concept called WWE Speed. And not the drug speed, but WWE Speed, where I guess they're having like little 5-minute matches. And I don't know really how the concept works yet. Nobody does, but they were kind of having little kind of lightning matches, which I don't hate. It just depends on how they're going to utilize these. You know, if they're trying something different, a new concept for the future, you know, to try to add a little bit of, you know, excitement and a fast-paced nature to certain shows, or if they want to develop a whole program like this. You know, we saw the Cruiserweight division and the 205 Live and things that they've tried in the past. Maybe this is another way for them to find a way to utilize these, you know, kind of high-flying cruiserweight matches, you know, with maybe people on the roster who aren't as, you know, who aren't top-tier stars or something. Not really sure. Don't know if it's going to be a tournament. Don't know, but they tried out this concept. A couple of matches ran last night, and I don't really have any strong opinion on this yet. It just depends on what they want to do. You know, sometimes, you know, I'm not really against a new match concept. Some are weird, you know, some match concepts like the championship scramble and the Punjabi prison, I don't really understand, but some I like. So maybe this is something that can work. I'm not really going to be too judgy. I saw a lot of people being real judgy on this. You know, it's going to be stupid or whatever. I'm like, why don't you just see what it is first before we start flinging our poo at it? But right now, I'm not really sure what to make of it. But apparently, they are trying something out. We'll see if this makes it to TV in the future or if it's just testing for testing purposes. We don't know. But Roman Reigns finally returned. Roman Reigns has not been seen on TV since 2011. Last time I feel like it's been since we've seen him. And, you know, he's out there with the Bloodline, Jimmy and Solo, and this is where he basically promotes or anoints a tribal prince or a tribal heir. Oh, and it was so brilliant how he did this. This person is going to take over for me when I'm gone. This is going to be the next leader. This is the person that I trust the most, and just really talking up this promotion. And you can see Jimmy Uso smiling more and more. And he's kind of like, yeah, yeah. And then Roman goes, Jimmy. And he goes, come here. Join me in congratulating your brother, Solo Sikoa. And you can just see, like, Jimmy is brilliant at just these little facial expressions and stuff. And you just see the instant disappointment on his face, how Roman talked him up and then gave it to Solo, hugged Solo, and basically promotes him as the tribal prince, the next in line to the throne. And that's when Randy Orton comes out. The two trade insults. He knew that they were going to be probably setting up the Royal Rumble match because we figured it was going to be Roman and Randy right from the word go, right from when Randy came back. So Randy comes out, the two trade insults a little bit. Randy Orton lays down the championship challenge. Roman tells him to get in the back of the line. Eventually, Randy goes for an RKO, but Roman was able to escape it. And we didn't get any sort of confirmation on the match because Roman's like, you can't just walk in here and just, get a match handed to you. You got to earn it. Told him to get back in the line, that type of thing. And then later on in the main event, Randy Orton faced Jimmy Uso and beat him with an RKO after Solo Sikoa started coming to the ring. LA Knight then showed up to attack Solo, allowing Randy Orton to hit the RKO on Jimmy and get the win. And then after that, we get a brawl in the ring. Roman is out. Solo is out. They're attacking Randy Orton and LA Knight. And that's when AJ Styles music hits. And he, instead of coming from the entrance ramp, comes from the crowd, and he's on the apron. He nails Roman Reigns with a phenomenal forearm. He helps Randy Orton and LA Knight take out and dispose of the Bloodline. And holy shit, AJ Styles looked jacked. And whenever you're off, when you're off a significant amount of time, and you're rehabbing an injury or you're trying to get in ring shape, you've got a lot more time than usual to train and work out because you're not on the road, getting weird sleep and eating Taco Bell at 2 a.m. You're actually home, probably in your own home gym. I don't know if the merger did away with the wellness policy and people can just be doing whatever they want, but AJ looked jacked, just like Randy Orton did. So he got himself in shape. I mean, between Randy and AJ and LA Knight, those are three pretty crazy physiques in the ring. But I could not get over how freaking jacked AJ Styles looked for his age. He just looked tremendous. And what was interesting about this is right after he saved Randy Orton and LA Knight and the Bloodline retreats, LA Knight's got his back turned to AJ, and then AJ decks LA Knight, knocks him down, and then just walks out of the ring and walks right past the Bloodline. The very guys he was just punching and kicking a minute ago just walks right past him, and everybody kind of looks confused, and nobody really knows why they did that twist with AJ Styles and LA Knight. The only thing I think fans could really think of was that, AJ was supposed to be tagging with John Cena, and then he got injured. LA Knight got that spot instead. LA Knight went on to face Roman at Crown Jewel. Maybe AJ's thinking that those are opportunities that should have gone to him. So he's got, a personal vendetta against LA Knight. But if you read the SmackDown spoilers, I won't tell you too much about him, but AJ Styles wrestles Solo Sikoa next week on SmackDown. So he's still against the Bloodline. And my only wonder here is if this is going to lead to some number one contenders match, because we never got confirmation of the Royal Rumble match between Randy Orton and Roman Reigns in the opening segment. We know it's going to be Randy Orton versus Roman Reigns at the Royal Rumble. We know that for sure. They're going to do that match, but there's a lot of TV time before we get there. So they might wind up doing a series of matches or perhaps a triple threat between Randy Orton, AJ Styles, and LA Knight. And the winner of that goes to the Royal Rumble. And maybe the finish of that match plays into AJ and LA Knight's hate for each other. Maybe that is what Randy Orton's able to take advantage of and get the win. And then it's it's Randy against Roman at the Royal Rumble. And then LA Knight and AJ can then maybe have a one-on-one match either at the Rumble or on TV leading up to it, but they'll probably both be in the Rumble as well. So that's what I'm guessing, since they didn't announce Randy and Roman official for Rumble. That makes me think that they're going to just stall on this a couple of weeks, and Randy's probably going to have to do something to officially earn that right and for them to make it official. That's my guess. Carmelo Hayes made his debut on the main roster last night too. This guy is fucking ridiculous. I've always loved him. I don't know if he's going to be on the main roster permanently or if this is just his little introduction here. He'll go back to NXT, finish up any business that he has there, and then be on the roster full time, maybe after WrestleMania or something. I don't really know, but he's in this U.S. title tournament, and he defeated Grayson Waller last night in a pretty good match. So that was cool. And also Kevin Owens defeated Austin Theory in a great match. Really enjoyed that one as well. And Owens and Carmelo Hayes both move on in the tournament, and both will face each other next week on SmackDown. I won't tell you who wins, but they will be heading for a showdown next week. And we also had the Kabuki Warriors reunited, Kairi Sane and Asuka defeating Zelina Vega and Mia Yim. And the fact that the Kabuki Warriors are back together makes me wonder if they could somehow win back the tag team championships from Chelsea and Piper. And then if Sasha Banks comes in and saves Bayley, we could have Kabuki Warriors against Sasha and Bayley, and it'll be a lot different than it was years ago. You know what I mean? So, because it wasn't that those two teams battled it out, right? A few years ago, did they not? And I just feel like the circumstances are so much different now that it would be a lot more interesting of a showdown. So that was pretty much your your SmackDown in a nutshell last night. But good things are ahead of us, man. I'm excited for the Rumble. I'm excited for Mania. I think it's all looking really good. And we have that Elimination Chamber card in Perth, which is also going to be pretty amazing. Let me just get a refresh on here in case I don't miss anything. Thank you again for being here and just listening to my babbling, by the way. It's been a weird Saturday. Let me hit the super chat from Clone Force. Good to see you, my friend. Nick Aldis versus Randy Orton at WrestleMania 40. Well, could be. I feel like Nick Aldis and Adam Pearce might have a match at some point. I don't know. I don't know if I'd put that at WrestleMania, though. But Nick Aldis and Randy Orton at 40, I guess I wouldn't be against it. But who's Randy going to work with at WrestleMania 40? What's he going to do? What's his plans going to be? He's going to have to wrestle somebody, so I guess we'll keep our eye on that. But could be anything. It could be anybody. And I feel like so much talk this week about Punk and Seth, we haven't really talked much about Punk and Stone Cold Steve Austin, which apparently was talked about or has been talked about in WWE. But right now, based on how they set up with everything with Punk and Rollins on Raw, I kind of just want to see that, to be honest. But let's talk a little bit about AEW real quick. This week's Dynamite was interesting for a couple of reasons. Now, they are continuing the AEW Devil storyline. That's what's been the focal point of Dynamite lately. Last week, of course, MJF was taken out with a beer bottle. He missed this week's show to basically sell that injury and do the Iron Claw premiere stuff and all of that, I guess. So Joe opens up the show on Dynamite and he accuses Hangman Page of being the devil. He's making a lot of assumptions here. I think it's just the beer bottle around MJF's head that made him think that. Plus, he went looking for Hangman Page, and he couldn't find him. So he's basically accusing Hangman of being the devil. Adam Page comes out. He says, no, it's not him. Fuck off. And then Roderick Strong comes out, and he's the one that keeps insisting that MJF himself is the devil. And then right after that, we go into a match with Hangman Page and Roderick Strong. Can't believe the miracle that Roderick Strong was gifted. The fact that he was able to stand up and walk out of his wheelchair and miraculously recover is just... it's an act of God. I don't know any other way to describe it. But now to see him back in the ring is pretty awesome. Unfortunately, he lost here to Hangman Page. Pretty good counter on the buckshot lariat, but did take the Deadeye for the loss there. And this was in the beginning of the show. But later on in the main event, which was Swerve and Mox, which we'll talk about in a minute, they cut to the parking lot where Hangman Page is now being attacked by all of the masked assailants. There's somebody in a car. They get out of the car. It's somebody in the devil mask. He kind of gives the signal for the masked assailants to slam Hangman Page through the windshield of a car, which I'm pretty sure consisted of real glass. He went through it, and that pretty much rules out him now as being the devil unless he's willing to take a windshield spot to keep himself undercover. So we heard the Devil's Laugh a couple of weeks ago. A lot of people were speculating that it's Jungle Boy is the devil. Here's what FightFul Select has heard about who the devil could be. And this was a couple of days ago on FightFul Select. FightFul received a message from one high-level source immediately after the segment specifying that they don't believe Jack Perry is involved in the angle. We have been told that technically Perry's suspension has long been up, but he's not back at the shows yet. It's also possible that creative plans could change to adjust who is planned for the group. We're told that Hangman Page will be off television for a brief period selling the attack. So still no concrete evidence of who it's going to be. I feel like it's got to be MJF or Adam Cole, but Cole is still hurt. So that injury really kind of screws things up here. We're long enough into this angle now where we can really start, I think, legitimately thinking about a payoff here. I mean, it's got to be coming close unless the plan here really is to have Adam Cole be a part of this, because otherwise, what's the point of this story if Adam Cole isn't the one to take the title off MJF? But MJF might be dropping the title at World's End to Samoa Joe before that even happens. So we just don't know. I don't know if at World's End is where we're going to get the reveal. Final thing you see in 2023 could be a cool place to do it, but if they reveal who the devil is, then I feel like it's got to be a completely different person. Then it's either got to be a Jack Perry or maybe a Dolph Ziggler. There's been a lot of talk about him, or at least being one of the masked people. I think it would be awesome if Dolph Ziggler was the devil and the Spirit Squad was the masked guys. That would be great. That would work. That would print money. But we'll see. So no real concrete evidence as to who it is, but I like some wild cards. I like the idea that the devil is the entire faction of the Elite. I like that a lot, but unfortunately now with Kenny being out, I thought like Kenny and Hangman and the Bucks could be behind this somehow. But I don't know with Kenny's, illness, or maybe it's just the Young Bucks themselves. Don't know that either, as they are on hiatus too, and apparently going to be coming back with kind of an edge. Don't really know. But I feel like MJF or Cole is just got to be the leads right now. But it's fun to speculate on this stuff. I just hope that they're not so unsure of who the devil is going to be that we really overstay our welcome with the angle. You know what I mean? To where it's been so long, fans at this point are just tired of it and they want an answer. And then when we get the answer is kind of a letdown. That's what they want to avoid here. So I think that if they're going to pay it off, pay it off at World's End. But if they have a bigger plan in the works, then I'm willing to see it through. Just don't know as of this point. But apparently, it's probably not Hangman Page based on what we saw on on Wednesday. We talked about that horrible Ricky Starks, Big Bill, Golden Jets promo, and I knew something was off about Kenny on that, and it turned out he was, in fact, sick. But it was just a horrible back-and-forth promo. Everything was just off. Starks was okay, but it felt like all the jokes just didn't land. I think he mentioned something about January to Chris Jericho to the same type of silence that CM Punk's punching people backstage line got on SmackDown. There was a mention of Enzo Amore. Kenny called Big Bill soft. It was just all kind of a mess, and that's where they set up their tag team title match for World's End that apparently is probably not going to take place now. So we'll see what they do in its place, if they scrap it completely, or if Jericho takes on a new partner to be a different Golden Jet. Maybe he calls Kota Ibushi. That's possible. We had Riho sighting. She's been back a couple of times lately. She took on Soho. So it was Riho versus Soho, and Riho got the win there over Ruby. What was fun about this is that Toni Storm was on commentary. She called Riho spicy. She's a spicy little one, isn't she? And every time they cut to Toni, she was in black and white. Fucking great. The Von Erichs were on the show. By the way, this was Winter is Coming back in Garland, Texas, where they always are. So it's Texas. The Iron Claw has premiered. So they had the Von Erichs on the show. Kevin and his two sons, Renee, interviewed them. That's when Orange Cassidy approached him and asked the sons to partner with him on Rampage. That match aired last night. They won. They beat 2.0 and Jake Hager, and Kevin Von Erich came out and gave Hager the claw, which was really cool. And like I said earlier, the Iron Claw movie has premiered. I believe it's out and you can go see it. I have not gone to see it yet, but they did the big premiere where Liv Morgan was there hanging out with MJF. MJF and John Cena were chatting it up. Very cool to see them kind of hobnobbing a little bit. You saw Baron Corbin there and John Morrison, Chris Van Vliet, a few others were at the event. And it looked like it was a lot of fun. Apparently this movie is pretty dark, pretty deep, and pretty good. Good reviews that I've seen so far. I'll eventually see it. I just don't know if I'm going to really venture out to the theater or if I want to pay the probably absurd price it is to stream it. If anybody knows if it's available in your home, let me know. And Elizabeth and I will probably check it out pretty soon here whenever we can. The Continental Classic also on Wednesday had some pretty good matches. In the Blue League, we had Andrade defeating Brody King. Just gnarly and hard hitting. That match just gave me a headache watching it. But Andrade got the victory there. We had some Gold League matches. We had Roosh defeating Jay Lethal. We had Jay White defeating Mark Briscoe. And in the main event, this match I was really looking forward to on paper, Jon Moxley against Swerve Strickland. Of course, Swerve is on the guy have some monumental momentum here for Swerve. 2 victories over Hangman Page. A lot of chatter about him being world champion in 2024. But then again, Moxley is Moxley, and Moxley's a juggernaut. And I've actually said that I would prefer Swerve just to chase after the AEW title in 2024 rather than win this thing. And I feel like this is Moxley or Danielson's tournament to win, and it might even come down to the two of them in the finals. But Moxley got the win here over Swerve, and I liked it because it was kind of a protected victory. Swerve had the bad shoulder. He came off with his stomp move that Moxley was able to kick out of, and then Moxley caught him in a roll-up where Swerve's shoulder was not only up, but Moxley also had a handful of gear, and the referee still counted 3. So Moxley got kind of a surprise win over Swerve there, but I feel like that was the best way possible to protect Swerve in that loss. Hopefully now he won't be the one to win this, and he can still have world championship aspirations in 2024. But that was a really fun looking main event on paper. I was excited to watch it, and it was a really good match. So despite it not being the best Dynamite, and that Starks and Bill and Golden Jets promo was horrendous, overall I still thought it was a pretty good Dynamite. 50,000, something like that in the ratings. So right around where they normally are for their rating. I think Raw was back in the 1.5 range million because they're going up against Monday Night Football. And last night's Rampage, like I said, OC and the Von Erichs over 2.0 and Hager, and Kevin put the claw on Hager. That was awesome. And then we also had, last night, we had Ring of Honor Final Battle, which I caught a flurry of highlights on the internet. It did look like it was a lot of fun. A lot of these matches got high praise, especially Athena and Billy Starks. A lot of people thought that would be Billy's big night, but Athena continues to run and her dominant Ring of Honor championship run there. I think it's time to get that girl to the main roster. Eddie Kingston defeated Anthony Henry, Keith Lee over Shane Taylor, Wheeler Yuta over Tom Lawler. I think that was for the Ring of Honor Pure. We had Kyle Fletcher. He's the new Ring of Honor TV champion. I think that's awesome for him. He won a 6-way to win Joe's old belt. And during the scrum, he was in there in the suit, took it very seriously, had the title right there. You know, it felt like he was enjoying that moment. So good for Kyle Fletcher. Really crazy match. Fight Without Honor to tribute Jay Briscoe. It's Mark Briscoe and FTR, who a year ago had that just insane dog collar match against Mark and his brother. They're teaming up in a 3-way this year, taking on the Blackpool Combat Club, Moxley, Danielson, and Claudio. This thing was brutal. This thing was bloody, and it had Danielson taking the pin. How about that? You know, if this guy's going to be in the news for handing out fines, you know, and fans like to get uppity about that type of stuff. If he's winning all the time, all that's going to do is piss them off more. So at least Danielson does not seem to care whatsoever about doing business. He's not too good to do a job. He's just there to have fun and to wrestle, and that's what he does. Not everybody is like Danielson, and I think that's pretty cool that he was the one to eat that pin last night. The scrum we had after the fact as well. There was a few highlights coming out from that about Tony Khan mentioning the TV rights deal, which we talked about earlier, you know, and a lot of the, you know, constant AEW negativity and how he's never going to stop fighting. You know, I just think the dude should start taking steroids and hit the gym and just become crazy like the next Vince McMahon. But certainly does not show any signs of slowing down. Sometimes I wonder how much bullshit Tony Khan's willing to take, you know, as somebody who's a multi-billionaire. Does he really need to do this? But it sounds like he does need to do it very much. And he ain't going anywhere. He's not fucking leaving. So get that out of your head, I guess. Tonight's Collision, bunch of Blue League matches, goes live in 6 minutes, by the way, AEW Collision. We got Brody King versus Bryan Danielson. We got Andrade versus Claudio, and Eddie Kingston versus Daniel Garcia. And we have Orange Cassidy versus Brian Keith in an international championship match. So that is what is on tap for Collision. I will not be home for Collision. I've got to head off to work now. But it does look like a pretty decent show tonight. So it's been a big weekend of wrestling, a lot going on. And tomorrow night, we're going to be back again watching Royal Rumble. I almost said 2003, 1993, Bret Hart and Razor Ramon for the WWE title. That is what we're going to be doing tomorrow. Spectra, thank you for the $2. Did you hear MJF may drop to Joe due to an injury? I know MJF has been working through one, right? And I think that's part of the reason why he hasn't been on TV as much. He might have to drop the title to Joe. I feel like that's fine. I still wish that Joe wouldn't have had to lose to CM Punk at All In like that. But he forfeited the Ring of Honor title to go after the AEW championship. I think Joe would make a great AEW champion. I think Joe would make a great place-holding AEW champion if MJF needs a little time to recover that shoulder and maybe comes back and wins the belt back from him somehow. And if that happens, Joe can carry the title for a while, allowing Adam Cole more time to heal and recoup. And then they can continue the AEW Devil storyline if they want. They can reveal Joe to be the devil if they want. There's all sorts of things they could do. But if MJF drops the title at the end of the year, it might be because of that injury. But I just feel bad because I know injuries have really screwed up AEW's creative plans. First with Adam Cole, now potentially with MJF. We don't know. If MJF is healthy and there was no injuries to worry about, I still feel like his title might be in jeopardy from Samoa Joe. I mean, it would be a big victory and feather in the cap of MJF to beat another, big star like this, tough competitor in Joe. But at the same time, if you ever do want to put the title on Joe, now would probably be a good time given the landscape of main eventers in AEW right now. So yeah, we're going to be doing predictions, by the way, in about 11 or 12 days. We've got it scheduled for the 29th. So Friday the 29th, 13 days from now, almost 2 weeks away, we're going to be doing our World's End predictions, and we'll talk all about that. So, hey there, Titanium Titan. Good to see you. Royal Rumble 93 is in Sacramento. That's right, Bullet Point Wrestling. It is. And Bob Backlund is still in there. Oh, my God. One of the best. I didn't like the finish of the Royal Rumble. The kick out, Randy Savage goes for the pin, and Yoko just pushes him over. That was the dumbest finish I've ever seen. But other than that, it's a fun pay-per-view. Oh, there you go, Max. Maybe a modern Four Horsemen with Cody's crew. I feel like Cody's going to want to call it the Nightmare Family, though. But yeah, you could have Cody, the Creeds, and somebody else. Chad Gable, maybe. I don't know. Anybody like that? Just reading some of these comments here, see if there's anything interesting to touch on that I might have forgotten. Yeah, thank you, Juliet. Punk and Rollins was in the middle of the show. I only wrote down highlights for Raw, SmackDown, and Dynamite because I knew that with kind of a 2-hour curfew, I'm like, we might not be able to get to everything that took place on these shows. So just wanted to put the important stuff in so we could speculate on other stuff like pay-per-views and World's Ends and Royal Rumbles and Manias and all that jazz. So yeah, all right. I think I pretty much got through everything. Thank you for kind of the jumbled mess of a podcast this week, but there was so much to get into. I didn't know where to start, and I feel like we organized it as best as we could have. But I hope you guys have a great rest of your Saturday night. Thank you so much for being here. Enjoy Collision if you happen to watch that. And like I said, join us here tomorrow night for our Royal Rumble 1993 watch-along. We'll have whatever the Sunday night game is for football on the TV there. And then we'll also be back on Monday night for a Raw review. And like I said, there is currently 5 links on my channel for future watch-alongs. In Your House number 5, Raw December 2003, World's End predictions, World's End live reaction. All of that stuff is on the channel, latest content right now. So click those videos, save them for later, and you'll be seeing a lot of me between now and January 1st. Thanks so much again for being here. Have a great rest of your Saturday night, and I will catch you tomorrow for the Royal Rumble.